Mr. Speaker,
The Right Honourable Winston
let's
Peters
deal with
reply.
the member for Epsom who was placed there by the National Party.
Yeah, didn't even get
This is how informed this young guy is. He said that Lion is technically owned overseas.
aesthetic.
No, it's not. It is owned overseas, Sunshine. Not technically, it's owned offshore. And then he said that Ward went over to get this money in the late 1800s. No, he didn't. He went in the 1920s. Doesn't he know in history?
No, he doesn't.
No, he gets up here, beats his mouth off. Yes, he hasn't gone to school. He's a policy wonk. He just makes a right fool of himself. Now, I want to thank Reno Tirakartni for that brilliant example, and Phil Typewood, and Janie Sage from the Greens for their contribution, and David Cunliffe as well, for making plain common sense. And common sense is what New Zealanders want. They're sick and tired of this ephemeral neoliberal claptrap that people like David Seymour can't get their head around, as they can't get their head around the fact that he doesn't belong to a political party. Yeah. He gets up and he says, on behalf of the ACT Party.
Well, what's that?
Well, what party would that be? What party would that be? How did he get here? Well, the National Party guy pulls his hoardings down. Do you feel like a puppet? Yes, I do. That's what he should be saying, but he's got the arrogance to get up here to criticise a party that's talking plain common sense. Now, let me start with Mr. Foster Bell. He said this would cost each house purchaser $1,500. That's balderdash. You know what the register costs in Australia? $186,000. $186,000 for the country. Because it's silly, we're living in a computerised age. It's a matter of compilation. So you might not, know what's going on. And then he said it's offence against foreign owners' rights. But he didn't say it was offence against New Zealanders' rights because they have to go on the register now. That's the law. In fact, Alistair Scott, who lives in Wellington, represents Wairarapa and speaks for the banks, said he backed the OIO, and he said the bright line test is a bank account number. That's his answer. But no one, Mr. Scott, or nobody is collating the information. That's my point. Doesn't he get it, for example? Here's the essence of it all. Because it's seriously fundamental. No statement came from the Land Information New Zealand for 38% of foreign sales. 38%, there was no statement. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, everybody except the moron does care. We also know from the OIO that Inland Revenue does not record information based on tax residency. But then Mr. Foster Bell talked about all those people, no doubt from the National Party, who've got multi-tax residencies. Well, why don't we name them? Because are they going to act for the New Zealand people, or are they going to just act for all these foreigners? Well, we know the answer to that. Now, I think Foster Bell also said it's against our free trade agreements. Funny that. China doesn't allow us to buy land in their country. So that can't be right, can it? Now, Australia, well, it can't be against the CER, the oldest one we've got, because they have a register. Yep. I want to say this. It's astonishing, when you get somebody who gets up like the member for, Wairarapa, lives up in Wellington, Alistair Scott. He says this, quotes, "Does my son have to go on a register if he buys land?" Well, Mr. Scott, if he's a New Zealander, yes, he does now, and has done for decades. Right. Now, look, it's one thing to come from the banks, but your job is to represent Wairarapa and the good people there.
He should go there occasionally.
Can I say also there, when Brett Hobson got up, well, he said it was simply unnecessary. Incoherent, he said. That's what he talked about, incoherent. And he said the government had been collecting data. It's not a great problem, he said. Well, it's a great problem when 38% of the information is not required to be registered in the first place. But here's the most important thing. Here's the most important thing. Mr. Speaker, Australia, the UK, the Netherlands, France, Ireland, Norway, all going to it. China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia are all heading down this track. So is all the countries, nearly all the countries of Asia. They know that they're not making any more land. And the problem with the ACT Party and the National Party, who is similarly of their ilk, is they don't realise There has been a massive change in this country's politics in the last 2 years. The game's up. The game of disguising facts from the New Zealand people is simply not going to work. And in fact, yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll wind up very fast because I'm going to get on the campaign trail and wind in the Wairarapa and down to Invercargill and all over the country to spread the word, because out there New Zealanders want to know, Palmerston North Oval and Palmerston North, yeah, well, unlike your leader, I live there. Yeah, he lives in Parnell. I've been in my electorate more times in 1 month than he did for the full 10 years in his electorate.
Order.
Let's not have these silly questions again. Thank you very much. I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary opinion will say no. No. The noes have it. Yeah. A party vote is called for. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
31 in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
12 votes in favour.
Maori Party.
2 opposed.
Ag New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
Could I just, while the clerk's adding them up, remind members that votes are meant to be held in silence. And while I'm at it, I will remind Mr McKelvey that he does not wander around and interject. He interjects when seated, if at all. The ayes are 57, the noes are 63. The bill will not be read a first time. I call on